I'd like to call this meeting of the Dalton Select Board to order, please. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Zoom for the purpose of taking minutes in Dalton Cable TV. All those able, please rise for the pledge. And Mark, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brittany, would you do the roll call, please?
Here. 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 Here.
Here.
Here.
Okay, thank you. There are no minutes, so this is the time the public will address the board on any item listed on the meeting agenda or any issue or matter of the town. If you intend on a comment on an item listed on the meeting agenda, please do so at this time. The public address to the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Each individual will be given up to 3 minutes. If you intend on addressing the board, we ask you to do the following. Please raise your hand to be recognized by the board chair. Please step up to the podium and speak into the microphone. Please identify yourself by name, address, or the company/institution you represent. Please address your comments to the board chair. Please make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. The chair or the designee may answer questions or on procedural matters. Is there anyone that wants to speak on any of the items? Richard?
So Richard Hall, 164 Green Ridge Drive. If I could be recognised for number 12. There's some correspondence about it.
Yep.
But the key thing just to point out, the number of ratepayers on the plan is 2,205 as of 2024's report. So this is going to affect a lot of people within the town.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Number 6, authorization of TIF agreement with Sinicon Plastics.
So, Mr. Chairman, we don't have the agreement back from the town's attorney yet, so I would suggest you table that until we do.
Okay, we'll move it to next agenda. Thank you. Okay, number 7, discussing regarding budget freezes.
Okay, Bob, may I ask that we move the agenda number 8 first before number 7? I think it'll, I'd like to speak on 8, will segue into 7.
Okay.
Speak on 8 first.
Is everybody okay with that? Okay, we'll go to 8 first.
Okay. Discussion. You said.
Yeah, discussion regarding a third party to provide accounting services.
Okay. I won't ramble, but I just, last week after we met, I went home and I felt like it was deja vu all over again. What did Yogi Berra? It was some 35 years ago that I was on the finance committee, and we went to our meeting. Ed Chapman was our chair at the time, good man, and he told us that basically the town had $40,000, and we were somewhat taken aback. We sat down and we said we had to do something, and we came back the following week with our ideas. Now, this was a time when we had 3 select board members, no town manager, a part-time accountant, no senior center. Our committee used to meet in the basement where the police station is now. We were much simpler, smaller, less complex government. We got through it, and basically it was a time when we felt we didn't want to cut staff, we wanted to trim staff. We did that. We also closed town hall on Fridays. That's how that came about, for all those people out there wondering why it's a 4-day work week. Unfortunately, I thought it would reopen, but that's not the case. So, in looking at the numbers from last week, I don't think it's as dour as it may have appeared to be. I think there's room here. I think there's trimming that can be done. My concern is our free cash situation and also our accounting position. Our accountant retired, a new one came on board. That individual left before the new year. And I would certainly like to know, or I know we're out there seeking to nail down an accountant. But I'd also like to know what our numbers are. I don't want to make the same mistake we made 35 years ago. That was a transposition error of some sort. We were solid, but we had to make the changes. We did what we had to do. I just want to go forward here during this budget season knowing that our numbers are solid. And if it means a third-party accountant to come in and put the books in order and up to speed, and I'm not suggesting otherwise, for the new accountant and for our purposes, I'd highly recommend that we get a third party coming in to do just that. It's worth every dollar, so that we're all on the same page and know what those numbers are. Again, I want to say we got through it then, we're going to get through it now, and that's my recommendation to the board here.
Eric, do you want to elaborate on that in any shape or form?
I certainly have no objection to it. I stated a month or two ago that ultimately I thought, at least in the short term, we were going to have to bring in an additional accounting firm to fully catch up. You know, it's not that I haven't been looking. Frankly, right now, the difficulty is just weighing the needs to do that with the needs to actually getting a budget out right now. I mean, we're making fairly conservative assumptions across the board. You know, but I don't disagree that we need the help sooner rather than later. And frankly, I think Sandy kind of wants to be retired. That's why she retired.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's still working here, trying to keep a lid on things is a testament to her. And we would certainly be in much worse shape off if she wasn't still doing that. So I have no issue with hiring a third-party accounting firm to, you know, keep us going temporarily and to catch us up. I think that's the correct idea. I think the question is just how do we go about hiring them, you know, and who do we hire?
What would one of these outfits cost?
That's a good question. I mean, the typical CPA right now will probably charge you between $185 and $2.25 an hour. So, you know, it just really depends on how many hours it takes them to get us straightened out. But that number would be well in the hundreds of hours, I'm sure.
Do we have a ballpark figure what free cash is?
If I'm being honest with you, the answer is no, we don't.
Can I ask the question? How far behind are we? I keep hearing catching up. How far behind are we?
So, in terms of completely reconciled to cash, about 2 years.
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, thanks. I don't disagree with what Tony has said, nor the town manager, but I think the public has been given the reason to believe that we've been left in the lurch and we have no one keeping the book, so to speak, and making financial prognostications or determinations for the benefit of the budgeting process. Sandy is still there. It's like she never left. And she, if I know her, she never will until we find a replacement or hire an outside authority. Now, hiring an outside contractor to do this is somewhat of a process. You have to probably put it out to bid. You have to interview different certified accountants, and it's not going to happen overnight. We have been advertising it in the online for an accountant, and what I understand is the applications that we have received have been less than good prospects, so to speak. So, you know, as Tony, where I disagree with you, is that you're giving the impression that the position is vacant, nobody's doing the work, and it's going to interject and make inaccurate information come forward or no information come forward in the budgeting process. And that simply isn't the case. We're in great hands. We're better in hands now than before the last accountant quit, because Sandy knows the ropes.
John, I'm not casting any aspirations whatsoever, none. This is simply directed at getting that number and bringing us up to speed so we're on the same page. And again, it goes back to my experience, and I know I spoke to you just earlier
Yeah.
about that 35 years
Yep.
ago. And it was a very, not harrowing, but uncomfortable time to say the least. I just think it would be in order, especially when we hire a new accountant. That accountant then would step in, ready to go, fresh, clean, on first base, ready to take off.
But that isn't gonna happen overnight.
I agree.
Right. So, meanwhile, Sandy's still here, been here for the last 26 years, she knows the ropes, I'm certain that she is gonna do her very best to get us through this process with accurate information.
Without outside help, how do we catch up with 2 years, John?
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Go ahead.
If we're 2 years behind, doesn't the state certify free cash every year?
Yes.
How is that a true statement?
That is a good question.
Yeah. It just doesn't line up.
So I think you have to remember there are multiple forms of reconciliation that the town does. You reconcile cash to bank statements. That's kind of the last piece of the puzzle. You reconcile your incoming, you reconcile revenues. That's been getting done. So we're doing most of the process. We're just not closing it out. And that's what, frankly, I honestly think at this point, we don't have the manpower in that office to do that consistently. That's part of the reason, why I'm pushing eventually for technological solutions. And I want to get payroll under control because we're just spending too many labor hours doing simple things. And if we can get to the point where we're automating that process like we should be, we free up out of that office essentially one full-time person, when we get payroll under control. And I think at that point we have a chance of keeping up. I just don't think we have a chance now because the reality is a lot of things have moved on. The government's a lot more difficult in terms of all the reporting requirements and the requirements on the personnel, and we really haven't just changed processes in a long time. And I think ultimately that's going to need to happen. I think we're going to need to bring in an outside firm anyway, because on both ends, on the audit end and on the treasurer's end, we're going to have new people at both. We don't pay enough to recruit somebody that's an existing trained accountant or treasurer. So we're always starting off with a relatively inexperienced person doing that. So I do think long-term we're going to need additional assistance there, but I don't think it's going to last forever. But I think we're going to have to take a hard look at the auditor position and see why we're not attracting any really solid candidates for that. Part of that is compensation. But the question is, can we actually afford to pay more for that? And that's a question, we're going to need to wrestle with a little bit.
Or did you mean auditor or did you mean accountant?
I meant town accountant, sorry.
I thought so. That's the difficulty right there.
Yep.
Is the inadequate pay scale we have for a person that's highly trained to take over a municipal accounting function. So hence we've had no good applications so far. And as you say, perhaps that's the answer, is to seek outside professional help. But it's not gonna happen overnight. So right now, we're in the middle of the budget season. And you presented a budget to the select board. It seems very reasonable and very restrained by the major departments, highway and police and healthcare. Proposed rate increase has been scaled back from 18% to 8%. That is a big number.
Sure.
Mike's got a, you said that too, it's interesting. You said that to us, you told us that information 2 weeks ago. The town of Lennox, it never made the paper. That's no big deal. The town of Lennox had the same exact situation, and their health care is coming in, instead of being 18, it's gonna be 8, because they dropped the weight loss drugs. Yesterday, it was a front page banner headline, Lennox saves the taxpayers' money. When you said it, it didn't happen. Interesting, that's the eagle for you. I'm sorry, Dylan, but that's an accurate statement, right?
Well, we don't need to get into that.
No, I know we
Let's
don't.
not get into that. There's no reason for that.
Yeah, there is.
No, there's no reason to call the press out. Why are we
Why
doing
not?
that?
All right, come
We're
on.
talking about hiring an
Move on.
outside
Let's
accountant
move on to the
to help
agenda.
the
Come on.
town. We're not talking
Stay
about
focused.
newspaper articles.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I said it before in this meeting, and I agree with that statement, that at some point, we're gonna need to get an outside accounting firm or somebody who is a really good municipal accountant slash treasurer, you know, and is willing to come in here on a part-time basis. I have put out a bunch of feelers with the relative associations. I have had conversations with 3 potential, but the problem is that we're a little bit out in the boonies, number one. And the second problem is, you know, we're using a set of financial software that's a little out of the mainstream. And most of the qualified people that would consider coming in and doing that are reticent to come on and take on a town where they have to relearn all the operating software, the financial management software. So that is an issue. We're gonna be able to work through it at some point. I can't give you a hard deadline on when we're gonna find somebody, you know, that can assist. But it's certainly an attempt that I'm making.
Are you able to put together a scope of work and a proposal that could be put out to bid? Is that the plan? I mean, I'd be in support of considering this idea, but we need a scope of work that can be put out to bid and a cost associated with the services to make a decision. But I think overall, I mean, I'd be in support of entertaining the idea.
Yeah, we need to get that reconciled, we really do.
May I make a motion then, Bob?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we consider hiring a third-party individual or organization to provide accounting services for the town of Dalton, pending scope of work and a number given to us by our town manager.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good work. Okay, now we're going to number 7, discussion regarding budget freezes.
Yes, I asked this be on the agenda, Bob, thank you. Last week, as I said, it was difficult to hear the numbers there, and I don't believe it's as dour as it may have been a week ago. I looked at these budget figures more closely in terms of this past week, and our budgets are much in line. We have 3 divisions within the budgets. I'm just going to go over it very briefly. Our town service total increases, general government increases 3%. That is a good number in my mind. Our highway and safety budget is up 0.78%. That includes the police department, communication, and our DPW. The real driver is our contract and planning, and that would come in at a considerably lower number, much like the other 2, but the driver is anticipated sewer costs in the neighborhood of $830,000 if we add 50% on. So that is our driver in terms of our budget. I believe the school committee or a school district will have their numbers, a better number for Wednesday when we meet with finance and joint committee. When I jump to the bottom of all this, the bottom line is, and I asked Eric to please give us some form of reference. We have 26 to 27, but when I went just 2 years back, 25 to 26, the bottom line for the average family single tax bill was up 8.1%. That's this year, for an increase of $449. This budget, with the news from last week, 26-27, is up 4.3%. for a much lesser number. So I think this budget's we can deal with this budget accordingly, especially if we look at warrant articles. The notion of a freeze comes to my mind because, again, I go back to that time in the 90s where we asked departments to freeze. And I'm not asking anyone not to purchase what they can, but in fact to ask our town manager if indeed all unnecessary expenditures be limited given his purview and expertise. And I think that may apply to the committees within our community also, in addition to the departments. So I don't know what would be in order in terms of freezing, but I would hope Eric, being in the driver's seat, would be able to do that. So I'd ask that we give him permission to freeze budgets accordingly, should that come to pass. I don't think it will be that end result. I think this is we started off with a very negative picture, which is improving in my mind, rather than a good picture, which will not improve. So I'm very positive, but I still want to have that option for our town manager to do.
Okay. Anyone else on the board?
Are you referring to the current budget season, or current budget year that we're in?
Yes,
And what reason do you have for that exactly?
well, we have 5 months left into the conclusion of fiscal year '26. So we have 5 months to go. So within that 5-month period, if indeed we find rough waters, and I'm not projecting we are, but if indeed we do, that our town manager would limit expenditures accordingly.
I would say we would approach that on a case-by-case basis. I would prefer, rather than a blanket approval. Has the Finance Committee had any input on this agenda item?
I don't think so, no. No, we should,
We have a member of the Finance Committee in the audience.
At this time, my name is Bill Drusine with the chair of the Finance Committee. We haven't weighed in as yet. That's probably going to take place this coming Wednesday, where we'll have a discussion kind of toward the end of the meeting. We can move that up if any of you are planning on attending the meeting. You could, plus it's going to be televised, correct? And I also will have the Zoom option as well during the meeting. We'll be actually meeting in this room to go. We're going to be talking to the Central Berkshire Regional School District and then asking questions. And then if you want to enter into that conversation, that's why I set the meeting up the way I did. So, but we haven't weighed in yet. I can tell you my opinion, but I don't want to go there.
Okay.
It would sound like I'm speaking for the committee. Thank you.
Fair enough.
okay.
I would suggest that we hold on making any decision on that at this time, but keep it as an open idea to be discussed further as the Finance Committee meets this week, and maybe come back before the Select Board if we need to consider this. But I'm not sure. Are we really there?
I don't think we are, Dan.
Okay.
This is just a safety measure, but I'm okay holding off, getting input from Eric.
Yep.
Yeah, let's
And
get,
I'd
let's
like to
get the
hear-
Finance Committee and Eric's opinion, and
Yeah. I'd also like to.
revisit this at the end of the month on our next regular.
I'd like to also question is this a request from you, the town manager, or is this Tony's?
No, that was not from me.
No,
And
no.
I do think we're fine if you look at where we are in terms of budget to actuals.
Yeah.
We seem to be tracking pretty well for this year, so I have no concerns whatsoever over this year's budget.
Good,
Okay.
good,
All right.
good. I'm willing to table that.
Okay.
Okay. And then last, when do you expect maybe to present a revised budget to the board, and then obviously goes to the Finance Committee? And will we be doing our traditional tentative approval of individual budgets, or are we going to just look at the entire budget? What's the plan?
So I serve at your pleasure. By the next meeting, you should have a revised budget. We'll have final numbers from the school district, not final numbers, but
Revised.
a revised number.
numbers, yeah.
And I had gone back to all the departments and asked them to give me scenarios for what a 5% reduction in their budgets would look like. I think at this point, although I got those numbers from both Public Works and the police department, as well as a number of other departments, both those departments had initially given me some pretty bare bones budgets that were either an overall decrease or pretty close to a flat budget. So I would not plan on instituting a further cut on either of those budgets, unless we get desperate. I mean, really, I think what we need to do is, because we will make it through this year, but the problem is that we have a long-term structural issue we have to deal with. And I'll have some thoughts on what we can do going forward, but, you can make temporary cuts and you can postpone, again, significant infrastructure investment, but you can only do that so long. So at some point, we're going to need to figure out what a structural reform to our budget looks like. But you're right, I don't think we can do it this year. We don't have enough time, frankly. But I think we have to be prepared, and we've got to be willing to work towards that between this season and next season.
And you presented at the last meeting some ideas that could go into a structural plan that included, split tax rate,
Correct.
reductions in staffing.
Correct. I mean, the underlying fact doesn't really change, and that is, in the state of Massachusetts, the cost of local government is increasing faster than Prop 2.5. And it's doing that pretty much everywhere. So the only two strategies towns are really using to combat that are significant cuts in services, or looking at ways to get the town to agree to a levy override. You don't have a lot of options, and I think we should be talking through the possibilities of both. But I don't think it would be good to go back to the town with a request for a levy override unless we have a true long-term plan. Because if you do a levy override next year, and 2 years later back doing it again, you're going to have even more problems getting it through. So that, I guess that's where I'm going. I think we just need to be thinking about long-term budget stability in town and what that looks like. Whether it looks like a method for increasing taxation, and there are not a lot of things we can do. There's a few possibilities. Or, we have to look at shrinking town government overall. And, then we can have a debate over what are the truly essential functions of government and where we can cut and where we can't.
All right,
Thank you.
okay. All right. Everybody good? Okay, number 9, discussion regarding assessment values.
So this is something that's come up fairly recently. As some of you know, the company that does the assessment valuations for a town, they recently merged and changed the software they're using, and it's been extremely problematic as a town. There have been some cases, not a lot, like I think less than 10, where they got the valuations dramatically wrong and dramatically low. So I put a note in here from Lee Nunez to that effect so that you understand. It's certainly something that the company should have caught, but did not. And I know he's been incredibly frustrated with them. So we are, as of this year, switching some of what we sub out to that company and taking it back in-house, because frankly, they're charging us a lot of money, and it's cheaper to do it in-house than to sub it out. And that will take care of most of these problems. But the problem is that we have a bunch of taxpayers that their assessment dropped by at least 50% this year for no particular reason other than a software glitch.
And they complain.
And one of them complained to the town and said, hey, nothing for nothing, but my tax bill went down a lot. Why? So
Guess
the downside of that is Lee probably will have to send out, once that's corrected, I'm guessing that there's going to be around 10 cases we're going to end up sending out supplemental assessments to correct that back to the correct number. So that's why I want you to be aware that that will probably happen, because you'll probably get complaints about that.
You think it's relatively limited though, this issue?
As far as I can tell, I looked through Lee's numbers. As far as I know, there's less than 10 affected homeowners in that category.
We have an account, the overlay abatement account, which is about $250,000. And that deals with misassessments, let's say. So in this case, we're noting that they were underassessed. But this account deals situations that there's overassessment, that we return taxes to the taxpayer. So I guess my question would be, we have this amount of money. Should we expect that we should have more money allotted to that, given the errors that have been made? I just pose that as a question. I don't,
Yeah, I don't have
If you would
I
pose
certainly
that,
don't have an answer for you.
you may want to pose that to Lee, that, that number is pretty much in line. My understanding, year after year, may go up slightly as taxes go up, but if there's an error at this end, there may be errors at the other end, in which case we have to return tax dollars. Just a question.
Go ahead, John.
Were these underassessments all located in one section of town, or were they scattered throughout?
I don't think so. I don't think there was any real pattern to where they were.
Okay.
Housatonic Street.
Yeah.
And
That's up.
more importantly, is there a plan to review future assessed values to look for anomalies of such a staggering nature? Like a 50% decline in assessed value seems like that would have been caught on a report, a variance report.
Yeah, I mean, that is...
I guess it was caught now.
That is all part of what we're paying a consultant to do right now. The problem is they're just not doing it, which is why we're intending to take that back from them and do a lot of that in-house, because we are having a lot of problems with them.
Will that require more labor hours in the assessor's office?
Yes, but what we're paying in consulting fees is considerably more than the additional labor hours. So it is a savings, it's a cost savings to the town to take it in-house.
Good.
Good.
I stand corrected, it's not 250, it's about 130,000 on the overlay abatement account, so it's
Okay.
half the
And-
number I said.
At this point, we're just waiting for more information on a report, according to the principal assessor.
Yeah, so we're waiting for the company to correct their error, so they produce the correct values in those cases, and then we'll proceed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 10, discussion regarding electrical charging stations in environmentally justice communities and signing of the LOI. Who's,
Okay, so I'll start off, and then I think we have the representative from the Dalton Green Committee that can address this, but we're kind of at the beginning stages of looking at whether we can put additional electric charging stations in under one of the mass programs. that would be essentially no cost to the town, but we still need to flesh out whether it's no cost to install, but then we're on the hook for other things later on. So this letter of intent just gets the ball rolling, so we can do the evaluation and see whether this is a program we can even take advantage of. So it will come back to you long before any work is done or any final contracts are signed. This is just to get to the point where we're looking at the possibilities of whether it'll work or whether it won't.
Okay. Lori, do you want to speak?
Yeah, I would just add that, so Power Options is an energy buying consortium, and their mission is to help municipalities lower their energy costs and be more environmental. And so what they would do is, they would pay for this. I mean, it doesn't put the Dalton on any requirement to pay. So that once we sign the LOI, which hopefully happens tonight, then we would work with Power Options and they would come out and assess the location. Oh, I forgot to mention that the reason they would put it in Pine Grove Park is that is an environmental justice area. So the whole mission of Power Options is to lower energy costs in environmental justice neighborhoods, which that is. So the next step would be having the organization come out with Bud and all of the people who are interested to see what exactly this would cost. And then we would have the option of just having a vendor sell the energy, so it's not anything that the town would be involved in, just like the ones here are run. So, and I will be the point person from the Green Committee, working with Eric and with Power Options.
Okay, thank you, Lori. So we're looking for a motion to sign this, correct?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we support and sign the LOA before us. And that's it.
Okay, there's a second?
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, you can sign mine.
We're all just gonna sign yours. And we're all gonna sign.
You don't have to admit that guy, do you? Okay.
Okay, number 11, discussion regarding the Select Board question and answer sessions on cable TV. I proposed this at the last meeting. I'd like to be able to take questions from the public via email and talk to Michael and Robert about setting up a time when we can go in and film it and get answers for the public. Because a lot of times on social media or wherever, even by word of mouth, things don't always come out the way they should do, and people get confused. And I would welcome any kind of questions pertaining to the Select Board matters that we can answer. And I propose myself and another Select Board or two other Select Board members to do this, and depending on, we can keep doing this as long as we keep getting questions in. So, board members' thoughts.
I think it's a good idea, Bob. I think the board, many, many moons ago, did the same type of thing, and this is pre-cell phones. We had a call it.
Oh, that's
But
dangerous.
you always run the risk. You know what I'm talking
No,
about.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. But, you know, if you want to reach out to the public, you
Could
can.
be like, it ended up be like, oh, God, that could be pretty interesting, actually.
Well, I would suggest it be no more than two, just to
Oh, we
not,
can't do more than two.
yeah, not trigger a meeting. And it would just be answering those questions, so there would be no deliberations anyways.
Right.
But I think generally in support, maybe after budget season, or unless you proposing that we get going
as soon as
sooner.
possible, because there'll be a lot of budget questions, I assume.
Sure.
So,
All right.
I think it's a good idea, Bob.
okay, so,
Dalton TV is okay with it.
I will
spoke
talk
the
to
boss
Michael,
today.
and Michael, they're looking for programs. I sit on the board of directors, and they're looking for programs, so.
Yep, I did have that conversation with him today. He said they would be more than happy to accommodate you. He thought it would be best to do it in the Callahan room.
Okay.
But he's okay with, if you guys wanted to.
Yeah, I'll talk
do
to him wherever he's comfortable.
it, their shop, they can do that.
Yeah, if we can just put it out there, put my questions sent to my email or Lori's email or town emails, and then when we get a list of them, I'll look at the subjects and see who on the select board is kind of versed in that, so. And if I'm not versed, I'll have 2 other people do it, so.
Okay, and have you selected a date for that?
Pardon?
Have you come up with a date for that? Because that's what they need. When you want to do it.
As soon as possible, we can do it as soon as possible, so. As soon as a date, as soon as we get enough questions to fill up at least a half hour, so. I would say maybe in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, maybe a month, I mean,
Maybe a
depending
month, 2
on
weeks, yeah.
questions and
We'll see what we
ability
get
for
in 2 weeks, we'll go.
DCTV to prepare.
Okay. Now's the time to hammer us. Okay. Okay, number 12, discussion of electrical rates through community options.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if possible, can we postpone that one? Because the representative for the company will be signing on to Zoom, but he's currently in another Board of
Okay, so
Selectmen meeting
we want to hold on to that for now?
explaining different
Okay, we'll wait till he comes on.
town. So we'll push it off till he shows.
Okay. Okay, number 13, modification of sick leave policy.
So I emailed the board. Basically, what I'm asking is for the authority to, in extreme cases, modify the sick leave policy for employees that have been here less than a year.
Yes.
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 Do you have a proposal specific? I saw the email and you made some comments about an idea, but you have a very specific proposal that is laid out for an agreement that we would sign, or are you looking for authority to just proceed?
I'm really looking for authority to just proceed, but the agreement we worked out was exactly what I emailed you.
Okay. Is there anybody against it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just to be clear, it was a new employee. We knew she was gonna go out on sick leave. She's asking for that. It doesn't fit the current sick leave policy. We're granting you the authority to allow
Correct.
a change in that policy in the specific instance.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we should be talking specifically about anybody.
No, no,
No one
That's
did.
what we just did.
All right,
No,
all right.
no names were mentioned.
How hard is it to
Okay.
figure that out?
It doesn't matter. No
Okay,
names were mentioned.
it's done. Move on.
Well, no, I do have a question.
Okay.
There is paid family medical leave through the state of Massachusetts, so they do pay, I believe, what, 60% of someone's salary? So are we talking about making up the difference?
I'll be perfectly honest, I was unaware that Mass even had a paid family leave program.
I don't know how much it'll pay and for how long. You probably would want to look into that as part of the calculus, but there's definitely a state law that governs paid family medical leave. We all pay for it through our paychecks.
I don't think, Dan, that it covers salary. I think it covers health insurance and the security of the job to which you can return to. I don't think it covers payment of any kind, unless it's in our contract, which I don't believe it is. So it's job security. You have 3 months to take care of a family member, or however it's defined, family member, with the ability to return to your position, but there's no payment, and healthcare is covered. That's,
No, there is payment, but maybe it doesn't apply to new employees, I'm not sure.
well,
Yeah.
it would in
Dan, do
this.
you have information on that?
Do I have information?
Yeah. Could you get information on that to give to Eric?
But I
Well, I talk to people all the time in my job, and sometimes they're out on leave and they receive a check from the state of Massachusetts, paid family medical leave, and they receive a 1099 at the end of the year. So the state's paying someone for paid family medical leave, so.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to give the authority to Eric to amend the sick
motion-
leave policy when needed.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, end of discussion. Okay, number 14, PSFAC vacancy.
Yes. I brought this up earlier in December where there were 2 vacancies, and I didn't attend the last meeting of the Police Safety Facility Advisory Committee, but it went well. They seem to have reached consensus. They're going to be issuing their report. However, they've elected not to oversee or become part of the RFP in terms of requests for sites other than our public site. So I'd like to withdraw the notion of filling the vacancy because indeed their tenure is coming to an end and the Selectboard will be dealing with any submissions regarding private sites for a police facility.
Okay, so,
Tony, I agree completely. A brief conversation with the A member, and they indicated that they really would not prefer to see, at this point in time, a new member to fill the vacancy, because they're wrapping up now, and it's not in their game plan to bring a new member up to speed. So I agree with you.
okay, then we won't do it.
Okay.
Okay, number 15, department head monthly reports.
Okay, you all have a copy of the department head monthly reports. Do you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything you want me to bring back to the department heads for more information?
May I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Couple comments. I think this is excellent.
I do too.
I think it's enlightening, it's to the point, and I've just highlighted some things I'd like to share with the public. So we have our accountant who's giving us an expenditure report, there's a board of assessors in terms of reviewing qualifications for exemptions, motor vehicle excise abatement applications. These are just some of the things. The Board of Health in terms of all sorts of food permitting, septic hauler permits, lodging, funeral director permits, tanning salon permits. The building inspector's given his report in terms of dollars that he's collected in terms of permitting. Buildings and grounds, Jeff was here this evening talking about working with the Green Committee to update this building in terms of energy conservation and his efforts at Town Hall. Council on Aging mentioning their parties and events. The senior tax work-off program here where a senior can work off $1,000 for the 2027 tax bill. They're going to promote that. Communications, logging 1,400 calls, some over 1,000 of them to Dalton, others to Hinsdale and Windsor. The non-ordinary call, but with the incident in Hinsdale. Conservation Committee, working with the various other groups in terms of overseeing applications. Department of Public Works, Bud's crew working 22 days last month, 4 burials, no less. Emergency management, we just had that new hire there, working with our police department and the notion of the Code Red. The library, all their programs, and their attendance for weekly writing groups and knitting groups and craft nights and of that nature. Our police department, listing the various shifts, total calls for the first morning shift of some 278 calls, second shift 267, and surprising to me, the third shift, 350 calls.
I have a
11%.
question about that statistic once we're ready.
Yep, well, it's just interesting, and then she actually lists the various calls in terms of subcategories. Detective work, listing here sexual assault or larceny. Our tax collector mentioning balancing their cash and online accounts and files to be sent to mortgage companies in terms of establishing a mortgage. And our town clerk working with the budget for the upcoming election and registrars and petitions and dog licenses. And our town planner, again, Yanko, working with our capital planning committee, a housing needs assessment, the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, our town treasurer, working in terms of completing bank reconciliations and completing W-2s and what have you. So I just found it completely enlightening, and I just wanted to share that, and I think it's great. Thank you.
Yep. They're good. They're really good. Okay, Dan, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I found it interesting that the call volume increases significantly between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., which I find maybe hard to believe. But then I look further down and I see building checks, number of building checks, 281 for the month. The building checks, are they part of the call logs?
Yep.
Okay. It's important to note that. It's not a call for service necessarily, but it's a service that's provided. Because it's misleading when you see 350, in my opinion. And you wonder, wow, that's a lot of calls. 11 to 7 when most people are sleeping. So it's just an important point to note for the public.
Yep, thank you.
Is this available to general public, or is this just for the select board's pleasure?
The public document.
I think we
right now.
posted it with the meeting, didn't we?
Yeah.
I post these when the meeting minutes have been approved. So anytime the meeting minutes get approved, the minutes get posted to that particular
Yep.
meeting with any materials.
Materials, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. I really like these a lot.
Very much.
Let me get my little paper clip, huh? Okay.
See, I didn't show, huh?
Okay, any general correspondence?
I don't believe we had any general correspondence. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
So there should be two things in there. One was a CC of a letter to Crane and Company regarding dam safety. And the second one was a notification from Charter that they're dropping the Hola TV channel.
But they're not dropping it.
I thought they were dropping
They
it.
were dropping it and then they renegotiated, so this is the updated version to let us know that they're not dropping it.
Oh, last week was when we told them that they were dropping it. Sorry about that. So you can continue to watch the Hola channel.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm not sure where our consultant is, but if you want to start the discussion regarding the utility rates.
We got a couple more agenda items if you want to keep going.
Okay.
Okay. Clean Air Committee update.
Okay, Clean Air, it's been several weeks since we met, but we've had some information that I've shared with our select board and also with our committee members. I usually like to report out to them first, but I shared equally. We have the 4 monitors through Air Partners. That contract will conclude in July. We've had difficulty because they're solar powered and they're more offline of late than on, what with our weather, no less. But I want to thank David and Lisa Pugh in particular. We did purchase extension cords. They purchased other items. They've moved them. I don't know if they're up and running currently. I didn't check. 3 out of 4. Okay, it's getting better. So we are working on that. I know we had an inquiry from a citizen just why only one was up, and that was several weeks ago, so we're in the right direction. We did secure that grant for the 5 purple air monitors. I know Jeff and Richard are hopefully going to be tying into those shortly. I haven't contacted the schools yet for the Wacona and Craneville placements. Again, it's weather related, but hopefully those will be online within the month, weather permitting. Finally, one thing, our committee is soliciting bids, and this is not a budgetary item, but I'd like it to be, because we would like to have third-party data collection and review of our air monitors. And so I'm still waiting on one bid from Berkshire Environmental. Air Partners has submitted them, but basically these would be for year-long periods, and the scope of work, I have that, I'll share that, but the cost would be approximately $27,000 for the year. So that isn't a budget item, but I'd like it to be. It's not a new budget item because it was approved at town meeting last year in terms of technical and lawyer services, but this would be a continuation of technical services in that amount for 1 year. We are going to ask Air Partners to provide us an additional month, what with the downtime that we've experienced, given the solar and the weather. We'll see how that goes, but we can at least ask, and hopefully they'll be compliant. And that's it for Clean Air. We meet this week.
Okay, when's the next planning board meeting?
Planning is the end of February, I think.
I think it's the 25th. They moved
25th,
it
24th.
from the regular
Okay.
third Wednesday to the
Yes.
last Wednesday.
A quick question, has anyone discussed with the planning board or brought it up that the air monitoring might be considered as part of the special permit conditions, and the cost would be passed on to the applicant, the special permit, and not paid for by the town?
Dennis, I don't know if you want to answer that, but yeah, nodding. That was one of the terms and conditions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric, you want to do your town manager updates?
Sure. So as you guys can all probably imagine, it continues to be a busy month. The budget is kind of my primary focus for this period. So I have been meeting with department heads. I requested of all department heads for them to see what it was they can trim in their budgets to get down to roughly a 5% lower budget than the first one they submitted. Not every department is obviously going to be able to do that. You know, and I think we're going to have to pick and choose. The other thing I asked them is that if we do those things, what does it affect? In other words, most of these budgets are already pretty bare bones. So if you're telling somebody, okay, it was pretty bare bones before, now it's 5% less than bare bones, we also need to understand what you're actually cutting to do that, because they may not be things we want to cut. So those are coming in now. I should have most of them by Friday. So you'll have them in a complete package for Monday, as well as a revised budget for Monday that includes a lot of those cuts.
Tuesday.
It'll be Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
sorry. Yep, I keep forgetting. Monday's a holiday. I'm gonna be out tomorrow, most of the day, and also on the 24th. I'm going to one of the Division of Local Services trainings, because I need a little guidance refining multi-year budgets for the town. Because I think that's one of the most important things we can be doing, is starting to look at this, not immediate crisis, but what are we doing in terms of, you know, this year, next year, the year after, kind of a more, you know, keeping this year's budget in mind with what the future brings. So I did have the conversation with Dalton TV regarding the select board holding a question and answer session. They're perfectly agreeable. They just want to know as soon as possible so they can book the time and start advertising it themselves to increase the publicity. So as a town, we'll start advertising that, so we get it out to the people that, you know, where to send questions and what their questions are, and then we'll proceed from there. So grant info. We still don't have the final approval from the local technical assistance grant on the housing study, but unofficially I followed up and they said, yeah, we're gonna get it. It's just a question of when they can start working on the project. The other grant application was actually submitted by BRPC, which was the culvert evaluation for the town of Dalton and a couple other towns. So they have submitted it. They're pretty sure it's going to get funded. And again, that's a two-year project. But at the end of it is we get evaluation of all the major culverts that you know, water courses run through in towns, and a prioritized list of what we need to be looking at fixing first. So I think that would be valuable for the town. And also, thanks to Lori, we got a small wellness grant from our insurance carrier, MIA. We just found that out today. So we're gonna be able to supply healthy snacks to the town employees. We'll be able to do town hall, police and communications, public works, and probably here. So over the next, 4 months. So
What kind of healthy snacks?
It's a list. Some
Pop
of it-
pizza, chips, ice cream, all the
I
basics.
don't listen to him. But it's interesting, because there's like a couple categories. So some of it is fresh fruit, some of it's like refrigerated items, like an oatmeal that you would add water and, put in the microwave. Some of it's like granola bars, things like that.
Oh, cool. Good job.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
stop in and have some snacks.
Yep. So planning related, the capital planning committee met for the first time on January 29th. Tom Irwin was elected the chair, and Dennis back here was elected the vice chair. And we had a good first planning session, so I think that's coming along nicely. We are getting ready to issue an RFP for the second phase of consulting services for the MS4 stormwater permitting that we need to do. And I do kind of have a question into our town attorney regarding that, because the vendor we're using, I don't see any logical reason to switch vendors midstream on this. And since we had an overall RFP once, and we cut that RFP way down because we didn't want to put enough, we didn't have enough money to fund the whole original part we wanted to do. I look at this as just an extension, a second-year extension of the existing RFP. But I want the attorney to review that and see whether that's actually acceptable to do or whether we have to put out a full RFP. And I have asked, because I don't claim to know enough about Massachusetts procurement laws to know whether that's legal or not. So we're kind of proceeding both ways. We're all set to issue an RFP, but there's a possibility we won't have to. And if we don't, we'll bring it back to the board to review the proposal number 2, and that wouldn't be effective until we get the next budget approved anyway, because that would be funded through next year's budget.
Okay.
We're working to finalize the property search for the public safety facility, the RFP for that. I got comments back last week, at the end of the week, from the last public safety facility meeting. I just need to incorporate those, and we need to get that grant out there. So I'm hoping to do that. Well, I'd like to do it next week, but I'm not guaranteeing that at this point. The next open house for myself will be tomorrow at the Dalton Library from 4 to 5. Wednesday from 4 to 5. I'm assuming I'll get a lot of questions on the budget, but whatever people want to ask, I'm happy to answer. And that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
No, everybody set?
I have a question. I know, in looking at the budget, and I mentioned earlier too, Eric, have you talked with Mr. Morales from Pittsfield about the sewer fee? Is that scheduled? Because that's...
So I haven't met with him yet, but I do finally have a meeting lined up for this week to have that discussion. Because that, although it doesn't impact the levy limit, because our budget includes both the sewer fees as well as budgeting for the cost of the sewer, what we owe Pittsfield, it's still a big resident expense.
And well, next week we can talk about the budget. Is that the idea, that we'll have agenda items to talk about the various? Okay, good.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm presuming next week will be exclusively a discussion of the budget. And, the only thing I would ask is that you as a board tell me ahead of time how you want to review it and what it is that you want to review.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Eric? Thank you, Eric. Is the gentleman on yet? Okay. Okay, future agenda items.
I just have one, and again, it isn't pressing, but 55-60% of our budget is education. Years ago, there was a committee known as the Seven Town Advisory Committee, which was all 7 towns, whether select board members, finance members. They met with central office staff and school committee members in terms of maintaining communication regarding the budget. That's been defunct for some time. I'd like us to talk about that at some future agenda in terms of reviving that. I think that's going to be very important, especially as we look years ahead to the budget.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just one thing, the board suggested or agreed with the town manager about sending a letter to the Central Berkshire Regional School District indicating a range that the town of Dalton and other towns would be willing to accept in the budgeting process. Have we done that, or is there a reason not to?
We have not done that yet. However, I do have a meeting tomorrow scheduled with all 7 of the administrators and, in one case, Board of Selectmen chair, to discuss that.
Perfect.
About sending a unified message.
Beautiful.
How many people make the meeting and whether we come to any consensus on what we agree to, that's a whole nother story. But at least we'll get the ball started on that and start that conversation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Any items anticipated, not anticipated 48 hours for the meeting?
Bob, I would suggest at this point in time, if this gentleman isn't gonna join us by Zoom, that we discuss this issue, or the town manager explain it to us in general, and if necessary, postpone it to a future agenda.
Okay.
So I did just get a message from Mark stating he is still on the Zoom call discussing it with another community. He's still gonna try to log on as soon as he's done with that discussion. But sounds like they're putting him through the ringers there.
Yeah, I mean, meetings have a way of stretching out.
Can we have a discussion, because I know Richard's here.
Absolutely.
And he brought it to our attention.
Yeah.
I think it'd be preliminary, but I think it'd be informative.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe if we,
And then,
try to rearrange for
Yeah.
the gentleman to be here next Tuesday.
Yeah. Richard, do you?
Richard, you want to start us off?
well, I have a question. Is this coming from Richard or coming from town manager or?
So
This particular
is
proposal?
coming from the company that essentially does the Colonial Power Group, who does the municipal aggregation for the town of Dalton and most towns in the Berkshires.
Okay.
This affects all of us.
Essentially, I'm sorry.
Maybe if the town manager could explain for the benefit of the board and the public what's going on, and then we can ask Richard to weigh in. Would probably be the
Yeah.
better approach.
Sure. So the town signed a new agreement kind of in 2 stages. The first starting in early 2025, and that was the way the ISO New England calculates essentially demand fees changed. They put in this new thing called DASI, cost recovery. And ISO New England gave them initial cost estimate of 0.0015 cents per kilowatt hour for this cost recovery fee. So the power agreement that we signed built in an initial fee for that was 4 times that amount, thinking that would more than cover it. But if you look at our agreement, the agreement basically says that whatever that fee is, the actual supplier has the right to, because we didn't guarantee what that fee would be because they didn't know ahead of time. They had a range from ISO New England that what they thought it would be, but it's turned out to be considerably higher. And the real problem is it's a very cold winter, and they were having some spikes where it looked like it was going to be considerably above the average threshold that we had set of the 006. We had a meeting about it around 3 weeks ago, and the energy advisor said, yeah, we have been seeing spikes above that, but our advice at this point is to just hold on, not do anything about rates, and not worry about it, because on average it's been below that, so we think we're okay. And we'll deal with it, in the spring, if it turned out overall in the winter we were slightly above what they had. The problem is they had a couple extremely cold days during the winter, which was during the week when they had both peak cooling demand or peak heating demand as well as normal industrial output. The state of Massachusetts takes natural gas supply and preferentially services heating customers, not power producing customers. So when it's really cold, they throttle down the electrical producers and make sure they can supply enough gas so individuals, don't freeze in their house. So as they do that, people start putting, more expensive and dirtier sources of electricity on the grid to provide enough power. And the cost for those goes up exponentially the deeper they have to reach into the pool to get enough power to not brown out. The problem is they had 2 days where they reached so far into the pool, their cost for electricity was literally like 2 orders of magnitude higher than it would ordinarily be. So that's what ISO has to do to guarantee that there'll actually be power. But the problem is that there's an awful lot of costs that end up then having to be shared around to everybody. And that's what that DASI cost recovery fee is. So instead of being 0.006 cents, it's now like 1.25 cents, which is a huge spike. But the longer they wait to change the rate, the higher that rate will be, if that makes sense. So that's what the supplier is coming back and saying in our third party, like the person in the middle, which is Colonial Power, is saying that they need to do. Now, the good news is our supplier didn't go bankrupt. There's several suppliers that didn't build it into their contracts at all and have gone under like in the last couple of weeks. So this is something that's going to be felt throughout ISO New England, but it definitely has a negative impact on people here that have signed up for that or have rolled into it automatically as town residents. As far as I know, this is the first time this has spiked like this, and it's caused essentially by a difference in the way that ISO New England implements, kind of its day ahead in its funding mechanism for that power. So I'm far from being an authority on this, but that's what I got out of the conversations over this.
Do we know what the price will be compared to Eversource's price?
Yes, it's going to be in the short term. I think it's around a 0.5 cent more than Eversource for this tranche. But everybody feels that it's going to, because Eversource has to pay that same amount, whoever they buy power from. So it's probably going to equal out the next time Eversource has their 6-month rate change, but there's no guarantees. So.
I have 2 questions. Any idea the number of residents that we have on this? I'm just curious, point of reference. How many people have signed up? How many households?
More than 2,000, but I don't know exactly.
I think Richard mentioned that earlier at the beginning of the meeting, and
Great.
maybe it's a good time to
2,225.
get Richard's expertise.
Come on up, Richard.
So the report for 2024 had 2,206 total people on that bill. Residential was 1,682, and the balance was between residential assistance and commercial, which was 160, and for industrial. So I had a quick brief look at the last two contracts, and they didn't have these pass-throughs in it. This is what's called a pass-through. So I think Eric did a great job explaining what it was. My concern is, instead of now having a fixed rate, we're going to see the rate change. And reading the documentation, it looks like it could be adjusted quarterly. So that could go up or down. So as anyone on this plan, instead of, as my wife said, well, it's not going to be fixed anymore. That's true. We're going to see it going up and down depending on what's going on with the power. So that is a concern. My other concern was that there's a wording fixed in there, which isn't really fixed any longer. And the other thing is they want to implement this for the March meter reads. And how are we communicating to everyone on this plan exactly what's going on? Because that's like 2 weeks away. So that would be a concern, whether or not it can be pushed to April, so that there's time to communicate it to everyone that needs to know. Because obviously it's unfair if you suddenly look, well, not unfair, you're all going to get questions, well, hang on a second, my rate changed. Why did my rate change? So there has to be a plan in place to make sure that the public understands exactly what's going on.
Any questions?
Richard, if the a customer is unhappy with the rate increase, and this rate increase makes the kilowatt per hour charge, that is higher than, Eversource, yes, they have the right to option out of it at any time, right?
Correct.
Correct.
So if you don't like it, because it's gone up and gonna continue to go up, then just opt out for the Eversource rate.
No,
Right.
you're correct, John, but at the moment, the public is under the impression that this is a fixed rate. And we're now saying, oh, the rate's changing,
Yeah.
and you need to make sure the public is aware of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Is the,
now you can say,
go ahead.
that as it stands right today, Eversource's prices per kilowatt hour are a half a cent less than the ISO plan here, correct?
Well, that's not the ICE, that's the
I mean,
town
The
plan.
town rate, yeah.
Yeah, I apologize, because I didn't look at what.
The ESA rate, the electric service agreement rate,
Yeah.
the proposed new one.
So if anybody, a half a cent per kilowatt hour adds up, I guess. And, so you have the option of opting out.
Oh, yeah. No,
Okay, just to make that clear, you're not locked into this.
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
it's an important
so
distinction, but
we're
it is,
just admitting both of those individuals now, so you can have your questions answered by the professionals.
that's good. I guess we'd want to make sure that there's some notification out to people enrolled in the plan.
Put on the website,
Absolutely. I imagine
which one,
maybe an email, but might want to consider, I don't know, a mailing potentially. It's important enough. Maybe add it into a future tax mailing. I don't know.
to
That's
start with,
feasible.
is on the website.
Mark, can you hear us? Okay, you're on mute. Why don't you pop up? Okay, let's see whether we can get volume up. All righty, Mark, you're on with the Board of Selectmen, so maybe you can kind of explain what the cause of this is and what your recommendation on proceeding is.
This was built into the last contract. It's just a pass-through cost of a brand new program that ISO New England created. Unfortunately, the program hasn't worked exactly the way ISO New England thought it would. ISO New England gave us guidance of about $129 to $125 million cost across all of ISO New England. And unfortunately, coming up to the end of February, we're almost at $1 billion across the, so we've been there.
One sec, we'll just turn it up, please.
Maybe we get a TV
You know what,
volume.
it sounds like it's not coming through the TV.
No.
I don't understand why.
It's coming through the owl.
Oh.
I think that's what it's called, yeah.
Stop.
Better.
That's better.
Better?
Yep.
A little better. Keep going.
Should I start again?
That's great.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, so at this point, in the contract, it was just a pass-through, right? So they said it would be about this is isomorphic, 0.001. So we said, let's give a big buffer. We put 0.006 in the contract. Unfortunately, we weren't close. We had what I'll call a catastrophic event during the storm last week on Monday and Tuesday, and just those 2 days alone, that Monday the 26th and Tuesday the 27th, the cost exceeded ISO New England's, for those 2 days, for all of 25 and all of 26. So to give you an idea of what the costs were, from that perspective, it has just been massive. The one thing I want you to know is ISO New England has come out with their internal market monitor and said, we have a flaw in this program. We're going to do a deep dive, figure out how to adjust it. Unfortunately, that doesn't help you or I because we still have the costs that have already accrued. So in Dalton, we're looking at, I should say, all the way across the Berkshires, about $3 million, $3.25 million across all the communities in the Berkshires. It equals about 0.0125, a penny and a quarter, which, not great, but about $7.50 per customer per month. So on top of today's rate, the current aggregation rate of 13,042 brings us up to for Eversource West up to 14,292. Here's the back. Basic service is at 13,683. So we're slightly over by about, it rounds up to about $4 per customer per month. 365 if you're using 600 kilowatts. All I want you to know is the way basic service is procured, all these costs are trailing. They buy out into the future, and their buy was before any of these events had happened, that they were even on the map, that something could go off the rails this far. So I expect basic service will explode. That next August, I expect it to be around 15 cents. You'll be back saving. Whether or not that happens, I'm unsure. I know this though. Given this winter, this contract is absolutely going to deliver savings only because it was so cold. Next winter is going to be expensive because this winter was so cold. So make no mistake, that won't back off. This contract, you already bought all the power you need, all of those things are in place. We just need to get this program back in line where it's about $1 or $1.5 million. And don't hold your breath waiting on that. I mean this honestly, I don't know when ISO New England will be able to make those changes, or I'll say tweaks to their program so that things are aligned. And I can answer any questions anyone might have. That's kind of the backstory. I do want you to know, in the contracts, all of the Berkshire contracts, the supplier only is charging costs, and that's all they're passing through. We're monitoring each and every one of the contracts, making sure that's all that it equals. It's just the cost. That's all they have the authority to pass through. There's no margin on it at all.
So I have a question. I understand, if I'm understanding this correctly, this winter has precipitated a dramatic loss of revenue, given the cold weather and the rates that are currently in place. So that's the impetus for raising this to cover these losses that have been incurred. And my question is there gonna be a good faith effort, or do you see somewhere down the line where that cost will come down, as you said, to get in line within these guardrails that we've had for the residents this last year plus? I mean, can you project that? Will that happen, or are we just going to see this rate that exceeds Eversource?
Two things. First, I do expect the ISO to bring the cost in line. And two, unfortunately, right now, basic service for Eversource doesn't have this cost in it fully. They do have some cost in there, but not to this level. So I do expect the basic service price to rise, and I expect you'll have savings of $4 or $5 a month come August timeframe. Make no mistake. But in the interim, there's going to be some small pain. I do want to say this. Remember, any customer at any point can always opt out or come back to the program, say, opt out now and back into it in August. That still exists for everyone. It's just, people forget, if you will, moving back and forth, everyone's lives are busy. And, since the program started up in the Berkshires, there's been about $52 million in savings since 2015, when this all got started. So I just wanted everyone to understand, we fully expect there'll be savings. It's going to take us the 6 months to get there.
Just my last question to follow up. The concern is communication with the people that are on the plan. Is that do you see that as your responsibility? That is, you'll type up a letter, get it to the individuals, explain in basic English what's going on and what the future would be, and just as you said, they can opt in, they can opt out. Is that also part of what you'll be doing?
So, given this message, we think it's best only because of how do I want to say this? The kind of in the weeds nature of this. What we've been doing is simply updating the website, so if anyone has any questions, they can call. You can also deliver that. I'm not going to call it a press release, but we can deliver that to the town manager. He can push it out to however you have it out there, and then anyone that has any questions comes to town hall, any call stuff, please bring them to us. Don't think there'll be many questions about a day ahead ancillary services initiative through ISO New England, and having that conversation with the general public is going to be difficult. We think that it will be a much calmer transition to simply generally notify, like the Department of Public Utility allows for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, but I would again state that it should be in simplest language possible, be put on the website, town website, and advise the people of their options. Many people don't even know that they're in a discount aggregate because the whole town joined at one time or another.
Right.
You just don't realize that. Hey, it's not a big deal, have a set above the Eversource rate, but hey, it adds up too.
And that
Coming around back.
that will change.
Today,
Yeah,
agreed.
I agree with you, Jim.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I guess Lori probably can get that message out to the website.
Yep, absolutely.
So, no, just so you know, the question becomes, we're one of the towns in the Berkshires that is part of this. If, what they're asking is us to agree to this, this change. So, if that's acceptable to you as a board, you probably need to empower me to sign the updated amendment agreement that's in your packet.
Okay, I'd like to hold off on 1 second. I'd like to hear Richard's question.
Hi Mark, Richard Holt. I haven't spoken to you for some time. The question I brought up was, because they want to do this in March meter reading, is very close to today's date. Is there any way of pushing it to April's meter reading? Because that's going to give a bit more time to communicate this.
So if we were to wait, we're only going to increase, and I want you to think about it this way, Rich, by the way, hello. No one will see this until their April meter read. The reason we're choosing March is because usage should come down in March, if you're March to April. So we'll have less usage, won't be as impactful. We also have the benefit of the governor's 25% discount during those two times, which will mute the original 2 months, which is again helpful. When we take a look at this, this is what we, at least as a group, decided on moving in March rather than April.
Yeah, that was my comment.
Yeah, it looks like it's, the first meter read dates for the month of March. Billed in arrears, therefore the April 2026 billing statements. Is what the contract says, so it will be the April bill that they receive with the retail price for period 2 at,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Yes, motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the town manager to sign the agreement, ISO?
The amendment.
Just call it the,
Amending agreement
Amending agreement
to, yeah, just read that.
to,
Electrical service agreement.
To amend the agreement to the electrical service agreement with, the town provider,
First Point Power.
First Point Power LLC.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I would just say, obviously, the communication's key to the folks enrolled, or at least, the general public. I'm personally enrolled, and I'll have to take a look at it myself.
Yeah, me too.
But, the upside, hopefully the savings come back.
Yeah.
Right?
They'll come back.
I think they'll work.
That's the idea with the aggregate in these plans, these contracts, but we shall see.
Okay. Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Can the press help us out on this one? Getting the word out, please?
Not for John, they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe they just did a little stimulating.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Mark, thank you very much. I appreciate
you.
you
Thank
coming
you.
on and having that discussion.
I just wanted to thank the board. Sorry we were late, we got hung up in another meeting. Thank you for your patience tonight. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this leads us to the remarks of the select board. Any? I just want to thank our highway department, police department, and fire department for taking care of the town, all the crazy weather we're having, and I hope everybody's staying warm out there. Anyone else? Okay. Leads us to us on announcements. The Dalton Police Department is reminding citizens of the winter parking ban in effect through April 15th, 2026, between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. During this time, there will be no parking allowed on the streets. The ADA Committee, Green Dalton Committee, and Public Safety Facility, no, we're not going to do that one. Don't need that one. Are looking for volunteers. Please visit the town website for more information. The town of Dalton currently has the following employment opportunities: recording secretary, town accountant, emergency manager director. Please visit the town website or contact the town manager's office for more information. Dalton's official meeting postings, agendas, and minutes can be viewed at mytowngovernment.org/01226. The next meeting, a special meeting of the Selectboard, is scheduled to take place on Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the Dalton Senior Center with an option for remote participation. And with that, I'll call for an adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Dalton.